All right, thank you all for joining. We'll get started on kind of the fifth of our series here on, for the Compass series. Specifically, we'll be talking about how to invest in your digital storefront as a small business. Again, we'll try to make this a little wide funnel. A lot of our previous conversations have focused on retail businesses and specifically food and brick and mortar retail food businesses as well. We're going to dive into that a bit, but also talk through all the other services. Essentially, if you're a loan company, what do you do here? If you're a inspection company, what do you do here? We'll try to touch base on all those elements, but again, since there's so many different types of businesses, we might not be able to get to every use case study. So feel free to ask questions and also follow up directly with us, as we're happy to give like 2, 3 minutes of guidance specifically for your business as well too. So really on our end, we'll talk through kind of all the digital strategies that I'm recommending to businesses right now on how to improve not only revenue, but recurring revenue as well. Secondly, we'll talk through kind of the tools. Everyone's kind of at a different level in terms of investment to their digital storefront. Some people have full websites up. Some people have no websites at all. It's just a landing page. So we'll kind of talk through that spectrum of where to invest and what's the 0 to 1 for your specific business case and needs. So let's just dive in really quickly. Most of you know myself, if you've been on these previous ones. Just in short, I do a lot of technology-based startups. Digital storefronts are kind of one of more of my favorite things to talk about, specifically when it comes to monetization, revenue, and retention. So that's really where we'll keep the focus of this conversation on as well. Specifically, I'm trying to deploy this for numerous brands, whether it's food, whether it's actual tech startup, whether it's digital only offerings. How do you really translate that to be able to capture the customer's attention today, where it's grossly shifted to a digital first experience here? With that, let's just quickly start and get the most important thing out of the way is what's the latest on the Paycheck Protection Program. We received hundreds of emails on this front. We just want to give you an update. If you were in our previous webinars, you probably understood that it was going to be pretty crazy across the board. And indeed it was. Unfortunately, like PPP is essentially exhausted at this point. If you talk to almost any bank at this point, they essentially got overloaded in their system. People were either going online or some people were even like handing physical paper copies waiting in front of the bank until they opened. Essentially the system got overloaded, and we kind of already expected that, especially based off our previous webinars. And essentially almost no banks or lenders are taking any additional PPP applications. The only rare cases I've seen a few have been taking it, it's because they have an existing relationship with that partner and there are a larger PPP loan, meaning that they're usually over a $500,000 requirement and threshold, mainly because the banks take slightly better terms in that scenario. In short, we have to recognize that coverage is limited here. They're anticipating only 1 million small businesses will actually receive capital, considering there are over 10 million small businesses, and by some calculations, closer to 20 million if you include sole proprietors as well. You recognize that this is just a fraction of the market that is getting covered. So the truth here is that even if you got an application in, it's still an unknown of how much coverage you're going to get. So you still need to be kind of taking a very cautious approach around PPP at this point because it's so high value. It's something you still want to optimize your time on, but recognizing that there's still a lot of flaws in this system. There's still a lot of issues that still need to be kind of worked out. The good news here to a certain extent, but it's still very speculative, is the Treasury is weighing an additional $250 billion specifically to be appropriated for small, medium businesses through the PPP loan program. So again, there's a good chance that another cash installment comes through and maybe applications open up again. But this timeline is completely unknown. No one knows when this funding will come through, and no one knows when this will actually be deployed. So really what you need to do is you need to be up to date as this happens, as this is essentially daily news. The other thing to recognize is, although 250 billion sounds like a lot, you saw how fast 350 billion went. Within 48 hours, right, everything was crashed. You're going to see the exact same thing here for the 250 billion coming through. So although there is some good news there, still recognize that it's still going to be a very chaotic pipeline as banks try to manage this process. So again, as we highlighted in our previous conversations, have your documentation ready. Speak with your lenders now. If you were not able to get a PPP loan in, or you do not know if you're going to get capital, Really express to them that, your business is prepped, you've done all the work, and you're ready to go as soon as anything else opens up. Make sure you've already handed them the documentation. Hound them in order for them to understand, especially if you have a relationship with them, like, hey, this is something really meaningful for my business. I need this. Let me know what I can do to get on your radar, right? So ensure you're ready to go whenever this capital comes in, because it's even going to be more chaotic. And here's the reality of the situation if you want to think through a business lens. The biggest issue with the PPP loans is that banks are not really incentivized to do that. The terms that banks are getting from federal bank backing are really low. Most banks I've talked to is that if you're a PPP loan under $300,000, which is probably 80% of loans out there for small and medium businesses, these are much smaller guys and they're much more in volume. Banks are essentially losing money on every deal. Because of the time required and the percentage and equity they get back on the deal, they're really low. So technically, a lot of these banks aren't incentivized to do it. There's some benefits that are coming through. The Treasury just noted that any PPP loans that they bring on will be off their books so that they can still deploy capital. But in short, recognizing the economic lens here, if that banks aren't incentivized drastically to do this, you have to do everything in your power to make sure you're front and center for them. So just a small lens there. So unfortunately, the PPP is primarily exhausted. You now need to wait for a new tranche. That tranche might be coming this week or next week in the form of an additional $250 billion. The other thing to look at as well is that there's now a little bit more legislation pushing through a CARES 2 Act program. And again, very speculative. No one really understands the timeline on this front. But the CARES 2 Act would actually essentially be a much better PPP loan, hopefully, or a new type of loan structure where they're moving it to a generalized grant. That's right now what the goal of that is, where it's not based off your payroll. As most of you probably understood, and probably for your small businesses, payroll is not the right metric to actually understand your costs and expenses. So doing a multiplier off payroll really doesn't give you a lot of leverage. You might be a 3 or 4 man business, but you support a lot more rent, a lot more infrastructure, a lot more cost. So essentially a CARES 2 package is essentially looking at how do we just give a forgivable grant based off the revenue of your business or some other metric that isn't tied solely to payroll. So again, just keep an eye on that. I'm still learning about this. Again, this changes every day. I'm sure you all understand politics to a certain extent where, anything could be changing on any given day, but hopefully this comes. There's a lot of encouraging news there. So in short, like PPP is still valuable, that's great, but recognize it's exhausted. So the second thing you all need to now be doing, if you weren't able to get PPP, is looking at loans. So you still have the EIDL loans or the EIDL loans from the SBA. Again, those are on fairly good term, 3.75%. There might be other loan structures coming out that will be competitive, but if you could get loans between 2 to 4%, those tend to be very good loans to evaluate for your business. But again, it's still some type of debt you're taking on your business. So make the right calculation based on whether or not it's worth it. Because especially with the EIDL loan, even if your business goes broke and you take on that capital, it's recognizing and more directly that you're still liable. It's a federal grant or federal loan. You still have to pay that back. So just make sure you're weighing the merits on all of these structures there. So, that's just PPP. I just wanted to get it out of the way. If you have questions, again, you could directly email us or the Folsom Partners team, and we'll be happy to direct you as well. Make sure if you go to our Compass website, the tribe.group/Compass, you'll also see that download list for all the local contacts in this area. Although they're not giving out PPP loans, you at least have their contact information. You can email them and have everything set up if another tranche comes through. So hopefully that's helpful, and hopefully that gives you guys a quick update. So let's shift gears really quickly, guys, and let's really talk through, what is a digital store and how do you optimize that for your business today? And essentially, right, it's recognizing a lot of the core elements we talked about in some of our earlier webinars. Really, for everyone, there are 2 holy grail metrics you need to keep in the back of your mind. First is, right, average order value or average cart size would be the right term for a digital storefront. This means, right, how much every average customer is paying you per checkout. And the goal here is, of course, to move that up as high as possible. The second thing, of course, is net margins, right? Net margins are king here. This is the money you're able to put in your pocket. So how do you optimize for that accordingly as well? So that's really where the lens starts with. If you want a little bit more of a deeper dive on those metrics, definitely check out our second webinar where we talk specifically around restaurants. We really dove into that. And it still applies to any non-restaurant based business as well too. So, we're really just going to go with quite a few elements here. They're a little scattered because I really wanted to make this wide funnel, but hopefully it'll give you a little bit of an understanding on what are the best 0 to 1s to deploy for your business. So the first thing to understand is most people on this call, or a lot of people on this call, have a retail or physical presence somewhere. So, if your retail presence is still open to a certain extent, you should be pointing all of your customers to your digital landing page in that retail store. You should be putting up your URLs. You should be putting a digital iPad up, whatever it may be, letting them know that it's actually better to go to your digital website in order to access your menu, your inventory, your services, etc. Even if you're closed, great. Post up a page for anyone who walks by on your front door, noting your landing page, the values that's there, and how they can help you as a business as well too. So leverage retail because people are still walking around, people still have some access. Although there is social distancing in play, you can still leverage this as a billboard, right? Think of your retail as a billboard for your digital offerings, right? So you should leverage retail with signs, coupons, and word of mouth. So if your retail is still open and you're still interacting with customers, you should be telling every one of your employees, be directing them at the end of a customer exchange to check out the website, right? Have some type of offering on the website that they should be checking out, but you should be selling that up. More importantly, you should be providing coupons, right? Buy online directly, and here's a 10% off coupon right now. Again, you need to incentivize that first customer behavior on digital. That is the hardest action to incentivize, right? That is the hardest action to complete. For a user to buy once. Once they bought once, it is 10 times easier to reactivate that user to buy online again, right? And that's a different funnel. So really what you want to think through here is the psychology of a new customer behavior you're introducing. Rather than coming directly to your retail store, you now need them to land on your website, put in checkout credentials, and make sure that they buy directly there. So you should heavily incentivize that, especially on the first one, right? So for any new customers, you should be giving out a new discount, right? And we'll talk through a little bit more on what those percentages should be on those discounts, but leverage that up, right? As I know, like incentivize with physical signups, right? If people, if you just have a simple a clipboard sign up, right? With just name, email, phone number, be like, sign up on this with your information, and we'll give you a 5% checkout discount right now in store, right? This is a great secondary way for you then to have the information to reach out in it through a digital manner to redirect them, right? So if you get their phone number, you could text them your direct, email landing site and a coupon code. If you get their email, same thing. All these elements are important because you have that conversion and connection to a customer directly. So try converting or getting as much information to get them to convert digitally as well, right? Same thing, you can offer limited discount codes that are of high value. Hey, this discount code's only live for the next 3 days, right? Or it's only available for 1 week. Use it before it expires, right? Provide some type of expiration date around these elements and it will incentivize faster action. In short, whatever you're doing in your retail, you should be capturing the name, email, and phone number of every direct customer you can at this point. This is usually a massive gap for especially brick and mortar retail because you're so reliant on that experience that you really never capture these directly. But in short, if you get their name, email, and phone number, this is the first way to get the first core foundation to get the next critical metric. And the next critical information you need to be able to capture is payment information. And that's going to be through the digital side. So on retail, you've already, always been reliant on them just giving you your credit card. Well, online, it's a little bit different. They actually have to physically enter information. You need to make sure that they can have a seamless checkout. That is one of the hardest barriers. So you want to be able to have the fundamental information now on the retail side to be able to capture the fundamental information you need on the digital front, which will essentially be this plus, payment information. So we'll talk a little bit about that, but this is a really great way on how to bridge retail with digital right now, if you have that. And of course, this isn't really, relevant for all businesses. If you're working out of your home, you don't really want to post this on your front door. It's probably not ideal. So essentially, right, take the information that's relevant to your business here. Leverage retail for pickup. Again, this is a little bit more extending on what brick and mortar can do today. Snooks is a great example. I'll talk a little bit about what they've done. But in short, right, like allow all digital orders to be picked up in store if there's a physical item, right? These are only for physical based companies, right? Whether it's candy, food, candles, toys, whatever it may be, allow them to pick up in store and provide that cost savings to local customers. Essentially, right, they're saving on shipping and they can easily come pick it up with really simple delivery or pickup elements, right? Same thing, like redesign your retail layout to provide safety to customers in the midst of COVID-19, right? You should keep social distancing. If you actually go to the FedEx in Folsom, they did a really good job. They've actually like put masking tape on the floor on where 6 feet of distance looks like. So you actually have clear waiting locations. So again, if you have a retail presence, just do this. It's really simple, keeps people in line and gives people more safety around their decision and buying, making decisions as well too. Next, like require team members to reference website to all, in-store patrons, as we talked about. Always be saying the website. Like this needs to be the new mantra, hey, check us out, snookscandies.com, right? Just make sure they hear it over and over and over again because that URL needs to click to them. And of course, make sure your URL is really appropriate and easy for people to understand. And we'll get into that a little bit later. And then lastly, right, have an easy to access pickup table and call number for curbside delivery, if that's the case. So like Snooks has really done a great job. If you look at their new retail store on Sutter Street, they only allow one customer in the entire store. They've closed off about 80% of where you can walk. There's just one area, one customer in, all of the customers have to wait outside. It feels very confident in terms of that, but you still have access to the inventory and feel a lot more safer. If you land on Snooks' website, right, there's still improvements the website can make, but what's great is they do have a quick call out on COVID-19. B, they do have a access pickup table for any online orders or orders through the phone. And more importantly, they've created a dedicated number where once you arrive, you call the number for curbside delivery and they'll bring it out to you. So they've done everything they could in terms of stitching essentially a low-tech solution for, a high-end customer, right? They didn't really need to deploy any new tools, any new software. It was just a redesigning of the physical user experience, and they just bridged it with a basic website, a basic phone number, and a basic email. And that essentially got them to that 80%. And that's really the key to understand here is that we're not talking about hiring 20 web developers to create a fully landed website or page and investing in 20 different tools. If you can be smart on 2 or 3 tools and know how to stitch them correctly from a user experience perspective, you can really get that, bulk 80% of the return in value, which is all you need right now. The last 20% you can optimize later, right? That's really how you want to think through this process. So again, this is still really focused on brick and mortar, but really just want to share like these are the easiest ways to do that if you have a physical store. So, outside of that, let's talk about this a little bit more generally, right? Like how do you do digital strategies for sales? Well, it's really simple, right? You really need to start focusing on what is the primary metric, and that's conversion of sales. So if that's the case, when people land on your website, they must be landing directly to your store when they visit, right? They should be seeing products immediately. Products should not be hidden behind anything else, right? There should be no elements to that extent. If you have a physical or digital product that you are selling, it must be front and center on the primary website landing page, right? This is where a lot of businesses get it wrong. They try to put way too much navigation, there's secondary links. It's really hard to find exactly what you're looking for. No, if a user's already come to your website, they have a high intention to buy. So make sure it's very easy to buy, right? The element here to understand is the more steps you put in your process, meaning the more clicks, the more views, the more visuals, whatever it may be, the less likelihood a user is going to buy and check out, right? So you need to make sure that you make it so simple, so easy for every partner, for every customer in this approach here today. right? So when users land on your website, whatever you're selling should be front and center, right? Next, really simple, just have beautiful photos and imagery, right? Really showcase what you're building, what you have, what's awesome about what you do. This could be showcasing your retail store. It could be telling about the staff. It could be telling about, if you do food, who the culinary mind is behind this, or if you're an expert in some brokerage service, right? You give a little bit of a background of them and kind of the inventory portfolio they delivered, but just make it feel fresh and inviting, right? A lot of websites when you come to look really dull, mainly because they rely too much on text, right? Rather than actual images. Images is a really easy, cheap way to have a good landing page and really make it united in terms of a user experience, right? If you're a restaurant here in this case, like have easy access to menu with one click from homepage. If anything, have your menu on your homepage, right? That is primarily the reason people are landing on your website, right? They want to see what you offer and they want to probably make a to-go order as well. Same thing, have easy access to your number on what they should be calling you directly to be able to place that order right now. Again, make that very clear. Know your customer's intent and make that the primary action on your landing page, right? If you can do that, that's very clear. You're going to get way better conversion, and more importantly, we'll have a better opportunity to upsell them later. For stores, you should be showing your direct inventory when user lands, and we'll talk a little bit more about what that means, but really just like show your top 3 sellers right now, right? That should be the really easy way to do that. If you're a boutique store, right, pare down where rather than selling 100 different things, sell, the 5 or 10 things you have meaningful inventory on and users are converting already based off historical sales. Try to correlate that data very quickly so that you're able to really be able to push the highest value items there as well. And of course, you can always have your inventory expanded if you have quite a bit, but make that a secondary goal, right? What a lot of people try to do is they try to put the navigation of inventory on the homepage. So you have to click through 20 different ideas, or you have to figure out exactly where you want to go. At least at a minimum, put your top 3, top 6 sellers, and then put the navigation below that or in some type of secondary location. So again, just a priority of information and what a user is able to visually see, visually take in is really important to get better conversion on sales as well. So that's just, very simple of understanding digital strategies for sales right here. It's like, make sure that you're landing with their intent, understand their intent. So if you're a business that might not fall exactly into these vehicles, right, what you want to think through is like, why are people primarily landing on my website? So for example, it's like, I'm a real estate broker and people want to buy a home from me, right? Or want to sell a home, right? So on the buy a home scenario, right, if that's your primary goal and what your primary value is, what your primary value is, your landing page should be, it's like, hey, here are all the homes we sold in the last month. Here's our current inventory, and here's our contact page to receive a free 15-minute quote. Because your goal is to get that first in action into some type of conversion, right? And if you're selling homes, right, same thing, right? It's like, here are the homes we've sold, right? Or, here are the homes that we've helped home buyers purchase. Here's a testimonial of 2 other local home buyers. And guess what? Here's the contact information to be able to get a free digital inventory of all homes available on our network right now, right? Something that extent. I'm sure you can curate it a little bit better for each of your businesses, but that's essentially what you want to do, right? What is the primary reason someone's landing on my page? What is the primary value I can offer? And then lastly, how do I get some type of digital connection with the user and convert that, right? So that could be consultations, quick email capture, a newsletter capture, etc. And we'll talk through a little bit about that later as well and how you capture those information in detail. So again, try thinking creatively here for your business once you understand customer intent and the product value you offer, and try to match that on the landing page. Next, right, like this is huge, and again, applies to any business, is bundle, 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 right? If you offer multiple services, try bundling them together at these kind of price points. So we've talked about this before, but the key thresholds in pricing is 20, 50, 100. And this could be any order of magnitude, right? This could be a 10x, 100x factor. So, if you're on the services side, say for real estate, right, you might want to move to 2,000, 5,000, 10,000 for your packages for some reason, right? Figure out the right number, but it's this 2, 5, 10 element that really fits well for bundles. So if you're selling your average, order size is about $10 to $20, great. 20 and 50 is really where you're going to focus, right? Your average order size is around 30 to 50, 50 to 100 is where you're going to focus, etc. Try finding where you fit and then start building bundles here. So physical goods are really easy, right? So like if you're a candy store, just put in all the items together in a quick $20, $50, $100 bundle that is really high value, is curated for your existing customers, but more importantly, provides savings. And that's the real value of bundles, is that you're trying to push average order value up and you're presenting it to the customer as also you're getting a savings. So, say usually it's like, hey, you get a $20 bundle and it's usually worth $24, right? Is what the items would be if they individually purchased each one. So if they do that, highlight that savings. Show them, hey, you're saving 20% by buying this bundle right now. Call out the savings directly. Vice versa, right? Like say if you are a home inspector for some reason and you do a package where a pool inspection, a home inspection, and an electric inspection. And I'm making these up because I really don't understand all of these industries. But say these all cost $100, $300, and $500, right? And together that's $900. But you should offer this package closer to $500 potentially right now if you have the right net margins, right? And again, figuring out what are those packages that your customer wants, right? And that's the hardest thing to do here, is building out the right ideal bundles. And you want to design them and also essentially curate them thoughtfully, right? So, here's our first time homeowners bundle. Here's our first time candy customer bundle. Here's our birthday pack. Here's our care package pack. Try thinking through the interesting ways your customers would want this bundled for their specific needs, right? Here's your, if you just bought a new home and you want the entire house cleaned, right? You're a cleaning service, right? You'd be willing to offer like both a garage cleaning, a full home cleaning, and a lawn cleaning, and you're bundling that together for the first time homeowner package. So it's turnkey. What does that cost look like, and what does that bundle cost look like? And again, you don't really have to sit with the $20, $50, $100 numbers. It's just a really good element on how users convert e-commerce wise. So the other way to think through it is that usually on bundles, you should be offering a 10 to 15% discount at a minimum, right? So if you take the total number of your services and what their costs are, give a 10 to 15% discount at a minimum. Of course, the more you go, the higher the conversion. But 10 to 15% tends to be pretty meaningful for a user who's already willing to convert on one of those elements as well too. So, separately, maybe your business doesn't really allow easy bundles. You don't have multiple items, right? So the other thing you should think through is, how do you offer a bonus add-on with each bundle? So, man, I'm really bad at making examples up off the top of my head, but like, cool, say if you are renting an RV, and right now no one's renting RVs, right, is your service at this point. In this case, right, you probably can't just offer them like a second RV for free. That's a pretty hard thing to bundle together for that same cost structure. So maybe what you want to do is you want to figure out, hey, for every RV you rent, we'll add on 2 free days, right? Some other type of cost structure. For every week you get 2 free days, right? Figure out what that bonus add-on is. That it's pretty low cost to you, but high value to the customer, right? Or similarly, right, for every 1 week you book, we'll give you a case of water and toilet paper, right? Whatever the needs might be for the market right now. Think creatively around your needs, but a bonus add-on is another way of technically bundling. And the key there is that the bonus add-on should only, trigger once they've hit a threshold, right? So you want to figure out what those thresholds are. So, for home rentals or rentals in general, it's usually like, hey, 1 week rental, 1 month rentals, 7 or 30 days, you tend to get a little bit better discounts the longer you extend. So same thing, think through what those structures need to be for your business and make that very clear. So if a user is 4 or 5 days is looking for a rental, be like, hey, if you push this to 7 days, you'll actually save 10%. right? And if you can offer that dynamically, that gets even smarter and better. And that's actually exactly how you push average order value from a dynamic manner. But that's a little bit more complex. So we'll get into that a little bit later. Outside of that, right, you should have 3 bundles no matter what on your website, whatever they are. Some might seem really bad. They might not seem high value. Just put them up there. That's okay. One thing you want to understand is customers are I don't want to say broken, but customers aren't the smartest. Let's say that in general, right? And it's because we all have different psychological fallacies and biases in terms of how we buy and spend. So what it is that, what is the greatest design when it comes to like e-commerce or like regular commerce of buying and retail was the design of the 99-cent model, right? It's that if you price something at $1 versus pricing something at 99 cents, the user is 4x more likely to buy when it's 99 cents because it doesn't trigger on their mindset of $1. It's really weird. Gas stations do this incredibly well, right? It's $2.39 and 99 cents, 99 1/100ths of a penny. That's how they get it, so they could drop that penny down. It's a pure psychological fallacy, right? It's really interesting on how this works. So the other thing that people do, it's called this pricing fallacy, where you anchor something of really high cost against a low cost thing. So with bundles, what you tend to see is that you put a crazy like $100 bundle that people don't want to buy, and then they see this $20 bundle that is clearly high value, and they kind of price it against one another. Like, dude, on this $100 bundle, I'm only saving 10%, and on this $20 bundle, I'm saving 30%. I should just buy this $20 bundle because I'm saving more, right? It's this aspect of saving more that will actually trigger purchasing, even though it's not high value to them as well too. So again, this is the reason why you should have multiple bundles, even if they might not be the greatest. They can serve as a pricing floor or pricing anchor to kind of create these interesting conversions. And I'm not saying do this in terms of like trying to manipulate your users and not giving them value. It's recognizing this is just how humans have been trained to buy, especially in the US market. And if you tap into that, you'll have better conversions there. So with 3 bundles, the key then is that you should be rotating the lowest performing bundle every week, if you can. This is a really simple strategy, right? You should have like a list of 10 bundles you come up with, go with your best 3, see what converts, and kick the lowest one out. Kick the lowest one out, kick the lowest one out every week, every month, whatever is the right cadence for you. Week is usually the best because that's usually when you're expecting customers to come. Weekly active users is a really good metric, especially for online e-commerce. But that's kind of why you put multiple bundles up. You see with data and just conversions, cool, this one didn't work, kick this one out, kick this one out, kick this one out, and get creative here. So when you can do that, that's what's really great here is that you get to start getting an insight in terms of what your customers want and what your customers are looking for. And as I already touched based on, right, like curate thoughtfully and provide meaningful value. So like try being artistic in terms of like sharing your craft, right? So if you're doing any type of food or element that has art to it, talk through your reasoning about it, right? Like why this bundle exists, right? So like for the coffee company, we have a roaster's choice. You get the 3 best blends from our chef. He wants to have you experience this note, and this note, because it really, really ties to his palate, right? Same thing, if you have something there, share that because customers want to connect, and you can thoughtfully share that, you'll tend to get better conversion as well. So think through what that additional language should be on each one. Sales, discounts, and high value offerings, right? Like just the number one rule here is like always have something on sale for the customer. Always on your website, one thing should be on sale. There's always a value customer looking for sales. So no matter what, the number one rule is one item must always be on sale. I think that minimum should be 25%. That's usually the average order of threshold where a value customer sees something that's worth converting at. So that should be the minimum. You could do a little bit more, especially if you're trying to get rid of inventory as well, or if you have better margins. You should rotate this daily or weekly, depending on your cadence and your product, right? Depending on how many people are landing. But like, cool, here's our daily deal. That's a really easy way to get people to convert and come back every day. Here's our weekly deal, same thing. Again, really you want to do is push average order value with threshold bonuses. So this kind of double dips in some of the stuff we talked about earlier. But like, yeah, try getting people to eclipse key elements to add more stuff into their cart. So it's like, cool, anyone who buys over $50, you get this free $5 gift card or this free, chocolate candy, whatever it may be for your business. Try figuring out what those thresholds are to push. So usually for like traditional food where your average order is around $10 to $20, you're trying to push people to that 50 to 100 mark as well. So try giving bonuses there if you want. But of course, manage the bonuses. You don't want to do everything here I've noted, right? If you're also giving bundled discounts, which is eating into your margins to a certain extent, and this average order value threshold bonus as well too, you might be eating up all your margins. So make sure you're calculating the right numbers, but I'm just trying to give you different tools in your arsenal. Lastly, like for the high value stuff, and what we talk about in terms of craft is create limited offerings, right? Like have a coffee that's only available for this month. It's very rare. Have a chocolate, have a candy, have a candle, right? Whatever it may be, right? Have some type of service or offering that's really unique and limited. And it could be limited in terms of time or availability, right? So, or amounts, right? There's only 10 of these created this month, right? That also creates a little bit more of psychological fallacies for customers. They start thinking to themselves, oh, there's only 5 left. I should maybe buy this. If I don't, I'll miss out. It's that fear of missing out, which is another psychological fallacy to tap into because users are then willing to convert, right? And it's recognizing right now we're kind of pretty bored as humans right now, especially for general customers, right? So there's this element where like window shopping is starting to lead to like higher checkout conversion right now. People just want stuff and they want to spend to a certain extent. Of course, there are lower capital structures and stuff like that, but people are still willing to spend. Man, you just want to make it super easy for 2 clicks for them to convert. If they can do that, you'll tend to get a lot of that value directly as well. So again, really in short, what you want to recognize here is that with all these elements, always have sales for the value customer. Always create limited offerings for those high whale customers, we call them, right? These users who just want something unique and special to them. And tap into the idea of pushing average order value and rarity, right? And that's rotation, daily sales, weekly sales, etc. If you can do that, you'll make the site feel more fresh. You'll give more reason for customers to come back, and you'll probably lead to better conversion and higher average order value in terms of your checkout. If you're like, this is kind of the hard part, and again, I'm going to try giving it as wide funnel as I can here. Is provide instant value offerings, right? When someone has landed on your website, like assume you're not, a physical good, right? You're not selling a candle or a candy here. You offer some type of service, right? What you should be doing is that as soon as users land, right, you should be offering them some high value digital content for lead capture. These are usually, the term is called lead magnets. And this is stuff where it's like, hey, again, let's go to real estate. Here's the 10 best tips on how to sell your home in Folsom. Download our free 10-page PDF today, and you can have this in your email in the next 5 minutes. And by doing that, what you do is you ask them to put their name, their email, and their info. And the great thing is you only have to create this content once. The time cost is 5 to 10 hours. You probably already have this stuff accelerated. And B, you're allowing them to also convert to warm leads at that point because there's strong intent if they're willing to download this content, right? So whatever it may be, right? And you could do this even as a restaurant or a food supplier or something like, hey, you want access to our full inventory? Give us your information and we'll send you our entire catalog for you to review, right? Try thinking to do what other high value digital content that users would want, right? It could be video content, right? Join our free 1-hour video, join our free webinar series as we're doing here, right? We've essentially done this to a lot of the partners here, right? We've created a lead gen website with a landing website to join our webinar, and we now have some contact information to be able to retarget if we choose to, right? But again, you could do the same thing. Launching your own webinar series is really easy. Launching your own YouTube video is pretty easy. These are all simple tools you can buy. But the real key is to offer that instantly when they land, because that's the idea of building a partnership and high value add to any customer that comes through. Same thing, if you're any type of service that requires a high touch point, you should be offering free 15-minute consultations. It's really simple. I know this might not lead to direct ROI yet, but the key here is generating leads at this point, right? When your lead funnel is dead, your key is just to get as many warm contacts as you can. So in this case, right, like offer free 15-minute consultations. You can easily do this as a request drop-down menu, really dumb on your website, right? Just give us your email, tell us your availability, and we'll follow up directly. They could call in a number, leave a voicemail, or if you want to be a little bit more advanced, there's amazing tools like Calendly. We'll follow up with the URL as well, where you could essentially allow people to choose a set time on your calendar where they could set up a free 15-minute meeting with no additional touch point on you, and it shows up already directly on your calendar. So there's all these kind of cool elements. The real key here is just provide that instant value. That's what people are looking for right now. So those who can deliver it the best and most timely and the most relevant are going to convert the best, right? Outside of that, like take a loss leader approach for, whales. Essentially you want to subsidize your time in order to close larger deals. So in your market, in your world, what you want to recognize is, there's one or two types of customers that are huge revenue generators for your business, right? Hopefully you built that, right? If you're if you're a candy or a restaurant, it's catering, right? Those catering partners tend to be a huge amount of your net revenue and volume revenue, right? Even if you're in real estate, you might have a relationship with a specific home builder that you partner with. And if you win that home builder relationship, they're a huge part of your revenue. So on your end, what you need to do is you need to identify very clearly who your whales are, right? Who is worth you spending a little bit of time where you might not see the direct ROI, but if any one of them convert, they lead to an inordinate amount of revenue, right? Because right now, what's the greatest thing about this unfortunate climate and landscape we're in is that everything is fair game. Everyone is on a clean canvas. Everyone's looking for opportunities. Everyone's looking for help. Those who could demonstrate it best will have a very good opportunity to capture it, right? So for example, a few of the brands I work with in tea and coffee, right? We've historically always struggled to talk to retail chains, right? And trying to figure out how that communication will start. But now, because of this landscape, every grocery store is actually doing really well. They're like one of the few businesses killing it right now, right? Trader Joe's just gave out bonuses last week or a couple weeks ago to all their employees. But now what's interesting is because there's this gap of inventory and they do not have reliable production, we're now able to have those conversations for the first time. And if we're able to close any one of those, right, one of these 100 grocers out here in the US, that would essentially 5x our revenue as a business, right? So although we do not know when that conversion point will be, we've now recognized is that we actually now have an audience who's willing to listen, a whale that's willing to, hopefully if we close can really scale. And then lastly, we have the biggest opportunity on our end, we could subsidize our time, right? There's not a lot of other areas where we can put our time towards at the moment. So giving 2 to 3 hours a day or 10 hours a week, whatever that timeline will be to chase down one whale, it might not be perfectly one-to-one ROI, but it is that, that whale that we're all chasing. And if you close one of them, it could change your business's outcome. So it's recognizing this landscape has changed. How do you take advantage of the new conversations you can have and the new value you can provide to those traditional whales? So the exercise I'd give each and every one of you is to think through, what does a whale look like for your business? How do I contact these whales, right? And more importantly, what is the value I can offer them now that they need most essentially? And if you could connect those dots, I would then start spending some time on taking these pitches and take that loss leader approach where you're not looking for direct ROI. And I know that might not be possible for every business. A lot of us are hurting, and I totally get that. But for those of you who've been able to at least dedicate 2 to 5 hours a week on this, it's definitely worth it right now. In your worst case scenario, you get good feedback on whether or not those whales even exist and whether or not you can convert. Your best case is you close one, right? So just thinking through that dynamic, and it's a whole different element of a sales approach and strategy that only certain businesses can value off of, but if deployed correctly, huge ROI. And the last thing here, just to understand, just have content ready delivered. You should have PDFs, one-pagers, videos, stuff like that in your stack. So when anyone talks to you, regardless of you meeting them or talking in a Zoom webinar, you should be able to kick out your 3 links really easily to them, right? Directly via email, share it over a text message, whatever it may be. Have this content ready already on your end, right? So it's your playbook, right? So like for Compass, this webinar series, we have all the YouTube videos, all the infographics. So if I meet anyone who's interested in learning, I could kick out all 6 of these, right? For my investment group, right? We have a 20-page deck. We have a 5-page investment memo. We have a 5-minute video, me walking through it. So if I talk to the right investor partner, it's no delay in terms of me getting that content over to them. Essentially, I've made this really good one-size-fit-all content that I can kick out really quickly to really add velocity to those conversations, right? So in your case, you're trying to add velocity to conversion, and content is a great fuel for that, right? Depending on the relevant content for your business as well. So of course, like, what does a candy store do, right? Like, probably there's not a lot of great content outside of landing website, a few coupons, and maybe a really great one-page menu about the craft of that, the artisan chocolate maker, right? Would be a really nice to have and see. It might not be as valuable as like a deck in a video webinar series for others, but just something to think through. But like, cool, like I would love to see a 30-minute video or a 10-minute video of the behind the scenes process on how every candy is made. That could be an interesting element of conversion for me. So again, think creatively around your business needs and have that content ready to go. If you could build that content now, it will support your business not only during this time, but forever. Like, you should have this regardless of the situation of COVID-19. But I do recognize a lot of businesses struggle with this because they haven't invested in that content yet. Hustle to deliver value right now if you can. And again, this only applies to certain businesses, but like, cool, if you have a physical good and people are buying, like, offer free local shipping, 48 hours. And when I say free local shipping, it means you jumping in your car and dropping the shit off to people, right? Like, just do it, offer it, and give that value. You're going to be eating that cost directly, but there's a really interesting element of being able to, provide that process, be able to get it up, and be able to eat your costs, right? Right now, you all have time on your hands to a certain extent. So this could be an interesting way to leverage it. And once shipping gets to a large enough level, you could hire. Hiring people to do delivery right now is probably the easiest thing, right? When you look to the industry and where current like unemployment rates are, delivery drivers are kind of one of the easier ones to hire for, right? Offer premium shipping same day, same thing. Like, cool, you want it in the next hour? We'll deliver it, or 2 hours on your own end. Become your own Uber Eats, right? And depending on who you have in your customer, just charge a premium on that, right? Literally what you should do is charge the hourly rate you would pay your delivery driver for that premium shipping. So at worst case, you're breaking even. You could probably push that up depending on the order size as well. Same thing, if you offer this premium shipping, offer this as a bonus for anyone who has threshold locally, right? So it's like, cool, you're in the 95630, 95762, whatever zip code you work in, we'll offer free premium shipping for any order over $100, $200, whatever the right price point is for you, because you could bake that in really quickly and you could hustle that yourselves. Really what you want to figure out is, once this gets too much of your time for shipping, right? Like, that means maybe 5 shipments a day, you'll recognize I should either hire for it and I can support it really clearly with the margins, or, I can't offer this at the current price points. I need to move the threshold up, and you can control that. Right? You could change any of these numbers at any given time. It's the wonderful world of digital. Again, I still recommend everyone evaluate delivery platforms, especially if you're food. It's really easy to use. I would, again, go back to our restaurant webinar where we talked about how you can negotiate better for these guys and be able to get the terms you want. But they're easy wins right now to extend your digital brand and be able to get out there. Next is, like, think in this climate of what people are looking for. Like, the best thing you can offer is care packages, right? Offer something where it's like a care package, not only that you can buy for your own family, but to send to somebody else, right? In this time of need, people definitely want care packages, and being able to offer $20 to $40, especially, in that price point, is a really clear price point of adding value to like high-end partners. Specifically, offer care packages to your business partners, right? If you're one of these businesses where, every Christmas, these people are ordering from you thousands of dollars to send out gift baskets, hit up that same list. Be like, hey, you guys want to offer care packages to all your core clients right now when they need it the most, right? This is when you should be doing it. Who cares about Christmas packages right now? This would be the highest ROI for customer relationship right now. So offer that thoughtfully. Design what a care package would be. Hustle and deliver this right now where it's super easy. And again, use that $50 to $100 price points. I think those are really good elements for where care package should be, or correlated to what the previous pricings were for Christmas or seasonal packages you were doing before. Consider subscription. I don't want to talk too much about this, but if you have something that has recurring value, try offering that in. You might not get tons of people to sign up, but again, any recurring customer is better because you have predictability on revenue. So like, try getting people to sign up on 3 or 6 month subscriptions at a minimum, so then you have predictability of some inventory and revenue for your business. The biggest thing here is to get a little bit more predictable on inbound revenue, which is really tough during this climate right And when you do offer those 3 to 6 months offer discounts, right? A 3-month, subscription gives you 10% discount. A 6-month will give you 15% discount, et cetera. Just layer it up. And then lastly, like provide heavily discounted services that are, high margin for you, but, and high value to customers, right? So like, inspection reports, again, I'm sorry for my limited use of examples here today. But say we have inspection reports, a lot of inspection reports, it's usually just your time that's the cost. You already have a turnkey tool, right? Essentially try subsidizing those down as much as possible so that people are willing to more readily onboard your service and have an ability to upsell. So if you have these services that have high margins, figure out what the discount you can offer to be able to provide extreme value to customers right now and make sure it's somewhat profitable to you. But because a lot of your services are just your time, recognize that's just the net margin you need to get paid out on. So just think through if those exist for your business as well. I'm going to run through these a little quickly as this has gone a little bit longer than I thought. Just communicate authentically. This is super important. I think it's something that's missing in a lot of people. I get the communication when I talk to them in person, but it usually rarely extends to the digital brand. So like, share a message when users land on your homepage. A lot of people are now landing on your website for the first time. Like share a quick message and a note, like have a signature of your owner on there, a direct message from them. Make it feel personal and an element of what you're doing during this business, right? It can be as simple as, we thank you so much for landing on our page here today when you have so many choices out there. It means a lot, and we're so excited to be able to help you with X, Y, and Z. My name is blah, blah, blah. This is our business, and we really hope that we can solve any of your needs. If you have any questions, you could email me directly and personally, owner and founder of X business. Sincerely, X owner with their signature. Anything small like that, right? And of course, you'll craft something way stronger for your own business that's just fairly generic, but it changes the relationship and it feels and tie into kind of what this community is all about, that trust element. And if you could extend your trust digitally, it's a huge element. More importantly, in that message, express the biggest way they can help your business, right? Just tell them directly, hey, we love that you're supporting us at Snooks. For you to help us today, we would appreciate if you buy one of our bundles that are curated right now seasonally for the Easter package. We have an amazing stuff, and any of these will significantly help us pay our support, our staff, and our team today, right? Just saying that and directing them to a way they can help you is an easy way to get high value conversions, right? Same thing, right? Very easy. It's like, hey, buy a gift card now because that's high value to us, etc. So make sure you express the biggest way they can help. Get creative around your needs to push net margins and near-term cash into your books, right? So that's what gift cards really come into. Talk about your mission and vision. Like, why did you start this? Why do you care about this? Why does this need to exist, right? That should be really clearly explained. Who you are, why you're the best to do it, and why the world needs this, right? If you can share that on your mission and vision page, you'll be. Lastly, like communicate live, and we'll talk a little bit about this. There's a lot of amazing resources and tools where you can put a widget on your website, and essentially what it happens is that if anyone has a question, they can literally message it to you on the website, and it goes directly to your text or your email, and you can start communicating with them while they're on your website. Again, it's the same thing. If someone walked into your retail store and you did not talk to them and you looked the other way for the next 10 minutes as they roam, you're probably going to get a less conversion out of that user, right? The higher conversion is, hey, welcome to X store. How can I help you today, right? Same thing. You should be extending that to a digital brand. And we'll talk through what are some of the great resources to do that. Leverage social media, just like invest. We've talked about this lots of times on these webinars. Just post, put content out. It doesn't even have to be great content. Don't focus on perfection. Just get photos. You got an iPhone 10, you got a portrait mode, cool, click that, just go. Put up a bunch of stuff out there and put 1 to 2 lines of text. It doesn't even have to be that great. Just get used to the process of posting daily at the minimum. Some will work, some won't. That's fine. The key is just putting it out there and getting into that habit, right? You can offer unique discounts to followers. You illustrate your craft and process. It's a great way to extend with video. Like I love seeing how this was built, how this was created, right? If you offer a service, it'd be really amazing to see like, cool, what happens when you buy an inspection, from us? Here's the process, here's the timeline, here's the return, all in a short 30-second video, right? Highlight your new setup and emphasize your quality standards, especially if you're like COVID related and there's a high touch point, really emphasize that as well. But in short, post, 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 use this stuff. Instagram, Facebook, Yelp. These are high value. It's where everyone's landing, especially in a digital first environment. Now is the best time to be investing in all this stuff. So really quickly, if you do not have a good website or don't have a website at all, like here are the best digital tools for website creation. It's Shopify, Wix, BigCommerce, and Squarespace. Wix and Squarespace are probably the most easy to use and probably have the most minimal amount of features, but they get the job done of selling 10 or 20 items, right? Shopify is by far the most robust. It can do everything, lots of plugins, lots of widgets, lots of optimizations, really cool stuff. But it does have a slightly higher learning curve. But they've done a great job. If you go to the Shopify Academy, and we'll send the link as well afterwards, on all the tutorials to set up your own Shopify page. You should be looking at these and making sure you're updated with a very clean visual, right? To be honest, a lot of people are still using pages that look like they're from the 1990s, like GeoCities, right? Stuff like that. You really should be looking at a clean, fresh mode, and these are really easy websites to do. And they're pretty cheap. Most of these websites cost like $30 to $50 a month. That's it, right? To be able to have all those elements of full checkout, full inventory, full ownership. So definitely check these out if you do not have a website or you're interested in starting to create your own new website. Of course, if you want something really amazing and you're getting huge digital conversion, you should be hiring a team that can really create an amazing front end for your user experience. But again, all of these websites get you the 80%, and that's really what we're focused on here today. Chat. As talked about, add chats you can communicate live directly to all of your customers. These are the best 4 chat apps. If you go to GrandonCityCoworking.com, one of the sponsors of this Compass web series, they are using Drift. So if you want to see how Drift is used, how it pops up, it's a really clean way to do it. They'll get to talk to Kelly, the community manager there as well. And all of that stuff goes directly either to her phone or email, right? And the great thing is you all have phone or email on you at all times. So when anyone comes in, what these messages do, they just pop up, hey, how can I help you? And they can just start typing right there in the website, be like, hey, I'm looking for this. And then you could answer live, or you could be like, hey, here's our phone number. Just call us and we'll walk you through the details. Any of this will really help with sales conversion and should be a simple, easy way to add on. Almost all of these services have free 14 to 30-day trials. They're almost very turnkey to be able to install in your widgets, especially if you're using sites like WordPress and stuff like that as well too. So again, we'll send these slides as well. You can walk through them and kind of see the value. A lot of these guys are also extending it up all the way up to 90 days free as well. So it's definitely worth a try to check out. Next, like as mentioned, communicate with your users, right? You should all start getting used to running your own Zoom conferences, running your own Google Hangouts. Direct phone and direct email are also great too. I really do recommend adding this into your suite and tools to be able to communicate directly. Really just everyone's getting comfortable with Zoom now. Everyone understands it. I've forced probably all of you guys now to use Zoom to a certain extent, more than you've ever done before. So the recognition is that this new customer behavior exists. You should tap into it as well. So if you're giving free 15-minute consultations, do it really quickly with Zoom. And great thing is Zoom and Google Hangouts are free, right? To a certain extent. Zoom's capped at 40 minutes on their free plan. Great, all your calls should be less than 40 minutes right now on the free consultation side of the equation. And if you do want to boost it up, it's about $50 a month. Again, it is a cost. I don't think you need it. Same thing, Google Hangouts is completely free if you're already using Gmail, really easy to plug in. Most customers use this. Lastly, just call people. Like if you have that, be able to do that and do direct email. And with phone, also look at text messaging. That's a really huge opportunity right now. It's really easy to send wide funnel text to be able to redirect users. So if you do have a phone list, recognize that there are a lot of cool services that allow you to leverage that for direct texting. But just communicate. And these are great ways to do that right now with the updated tools. Essentially from there, guys, that's kind of the end of our conversation. I know we went through a lot. We really want you to reach out to your local resources. So again, Folsom Partners here to be able to help you with anything you need. Really on your end, the big takeaways here is invest in digital, understand how to communicate, be able to build a scenario where you could push average order value and net margins up. Invest in your website in terms of new tools, new updates. To be honest, if you want to do it yourself, start with Wix or Squarespace. Really easy, it's step by step. You could have a whole new website up and running in less than a day, right? You just commit that 10 to 12 hours, you'll do it on your own and not have to be digital or technical savvy, right? Just clicking and dropping in images. leads. So again, those are really easy ways to push this up. Hopefully this was really helpful for you guys. Again, we understand this is a little bit more wide funnel, but you could also directly email us on any of the questions for your businesses. You can reach us at partners@thetribe.group.